All right, well, this morning, if you have your Bible, turn with us to the book of Zechariah, chapter number 1, the book of Zechariah, chapter number 1. We're just going to read the opening 6 verses located in this chapter today and try to bring you what we feel like God would have us to read and study and to talk about for this day. So the book of Zechariah, chapter number 1, verse number 1, we find here, in the 8th month, in the 2nd year of Darius, came the word of the Lord unto Zechariah, the son of Berekah, the son of Iddo, the prophet, saying, The Lord hath been sore displeased with your fathers. Therefore say thou unto them, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Turn ye unto me, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will turn unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. Be ye not as your fathers, unto whom the former prophets have cried, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Turn ye now from your evil ways and from your evil doings. But they did not hear, nor hearken unto me, saith the Lord. Your fathers, where are they? And the prophets, do they live forever? But my words and my statutes, which I commanded my servants, the prophets, did they not take hold of your fathers? And they returned and said, Like as the Lord of hosts thought to do unto us, according to our ways and according to our doings, so hath he dealt with us. This morning, as we come here to this particular chapter, we see this prophet by the name of Zechariah, and we studied the minor prophets some time back and went through this book in great detail, and it's one of the longer books of the minor prophets. And Zechariah here, he's a contemporary to the prophet that's right beside him, Haggai. Haggai and Zechariah prophesy around the same time, and we'll see the timing here in just a second. But Zechariah, as we go through and look at this entire book, it's a story of redemption, and it's a story of return, and especially here in these first 6 verses, and that's what we want to talk about today by the help of the Lord for a little bit on return and renewal and the call for revival. And as we get ready to start into a meeting next week, and as Brother Chris mentioned the other night, that week and next Sunday through next Wednesday is not revival. That's the meeting. That's the time we've set aside to hear the Word of God. It's the following months, and it's the following years. If we see if revival takes hold, we can have all the meetings we want. We can come back tonight at 2 o'clock or 2 in this afternoon, and we can meet tomorrow, and we can meet every single day. But that doesn't necessarily constitute revival. That doesn't mean that revival is going to spring forth, and that doesn't mean that revival is going to bring out. And I believe here in the book of Zechariah, we see some very important steps and some very important things on that subject, which can lead us and guide us in the direction of really, having revival, this call for renewal and return that we see here in this opening chapter of this book here. Can lead us in that path and lead us in that way. Now, there's 5 things that I want to look at in these first 6 verses on the subject of return and renewal, the call of revival. The first thing that I want you to notice, we find here in verse number 1, we find the confrontation. We see in the 8th month, the 2nd year of Darius, notice what happens. The word of the Lord comes to Zechariah. Now, here's what we need to happen in our nation and in our country today. We need the word of the Lord to be returned to the people of God. We need that to happen, and we need that to occur. Now, there's a confrontation that's going to occur right here, because here's what we're going to find. They've been absent of it for a great period of time. They've been absent of it for quite some time now. And here in this opening verse, we see the messenger that comes. Now, as we study through the book of Zechariah, you probably remember this. Zechariah's name means that the Lord remembers. So there's a messenger that is coming. There's a messenger that's being sent here in verse number 1, and his name is Zechariah, or his name is, the Lord remembers. And here's what we've got to understand today, that God's not forgot us. We may have forgot him. He's not forgot us. No matter the circumstance and no matter the situation, in no way, form, or fashion has he forgotten us. We see the messenger here, Zechariah is sent. Not only do we see the messenger, but we see the moment that he's sent. It's in the 2nd year of Darius. Now, we've talked about Darius a little bit, with looking through Daniel, and I know it seems like it's been forever since we've talked about Daniel, but we've seen Darius a little bit. So here we find that the children of Israel are very deep into a captivity. It's been a long time since they've lived in Jerusalem. It's been a long time since they've really seen the outpouring and the blessings of God. As we see here, there's a confrontation in verse number 1, and we see the messenger, but not only that, we see the moment here that it's been a long time, and there's a great need that we find here in verse number 1, that the children of Israel have went a long time without really feeling the blessings of God. And here's what I'm afraid of today. There's a lot of God's people that's went a long time without really feeling His presence. And they went a long time without really feeling His blessings. They've went a long time without really feeling like, that they're saved. And they went a long time in bad feelings. And they've went a long time and the moment is crucial here. This people that Zechariah has been sent to talk to and prophesy to and to deliver God's word to, it's been a long time since they've really, experienced anything when it comes to the things of God. And you know what? Our nation today feels like that sometimes, don't it? But I believe this. I believe we're seeing a little bit of a turn. I believe we're seeing people, open up just a little bit. And, as Brother Jimmy read that chapter today, and that's a great chapter. There's two groups there that are very interesting group, the Epicureans and the Stoics. And you know what? They acknowledged there were gods. They didn't believe they could do anything. They didn't believe they had any influence on human affairs. Now, it's interesting, and and I'm not trying to teach over his lesson, but I think it's interesting that place dedicated was called Mars Hill, and Mars is a Roman god. The Greek equivalent of that is Ares, and most of us know Ares is what? The god of war. So their educational center is named after the god of war. That to me is fascinating, and like Jimmy said, they sat around and they debated all these things, and they talked about all these things, and they had all these gods to explain all of their thoughts and their philosophy and all that about that. And you know what? Paul came there and delivered unto them the word of God. That was the right moment for him to come. We see now the moment for renewal and return and revival is right now. Right now's the right moment. There was a messenger that was sent. The moment was right, and the mission was very clear. The message is to turn them from complacency to commitment, to turn them from ritual to renewal, and to get them back in the right frame of mind, and to get them back in the right place. And here we see verse number 1 shows us the opening confrontation, and then in verse number 2, I want you to notice this. God sends a conviction. He says in verse number 2, the Lord hath been sore displeased with your fathers. There's a conviction that's sent here. He starts off with a problem. There's a past rebellion. The Lord here is sore displeased. In other words, he's pretty upset. He's not just a little bit mad. He's really mad. The other day, Clay and Layla was at the house, and we bought them scooters years and years ago, and they're way too small for them now, but they still like to ride them. We bought them some bigger ones, but they're 2-wheeled instead of 3 wheels, and they're struggling with them. And if you put them on a bicycle, they just fall over. So they're struggling with that. But we were at the house, and Vicki made this proclamation. She said, "Y'all better not hit Papa's car." I agreed with the statement. Now, there's a reason for that. Clay comes over and he says, "Do you remember when I ran into the Explorer with my scooter?" "Yes, I do. I remember that. I remember the dent that you put in it. I remember the check that I had to write to get it fixed. I remember all that very well." And he said this. He says, "But you weren't all that mad." Well, at that time, it was 4 years old, right? Already had plenty of miles on it, plenty of scuffs and scratches and all kinds of things on it. Now, he hit the Explorer, and I wasn't all that mad. He hits this black car out here, I'm gonna be pretty mad. The level of anger is not going to be the same. And here we see there's conviction that's coming in that Zechariah says this: the Lord hath been sore displeased with your father. He's not just a little bit mad at him, he's really mad at him. And his anger, here is increased. We see there's a problem here. There's a past rebellion. We see there's a pattern here. they're going to repeat it. Here's what I found in life. And Sabrina's probably seen this a lot in the school system. Children know what they're taught. Now, I know that it is inherent to us, our Adamic nature is, the source of why we do the things that we do sometimes. But I promise you this, she's probably and you've got first grade, is that right? She's got first grade kids, and they probably said some words that first graders probably ought not be saying. Or do they learn it from? Well, there's a good chance they learned it from mom and daddy. If not, there's a really good chance that mom and daddy let them watch something that they learned it in, or heard it in something that mom and daddy has, exposed them to. And here's what we found. There's a problem here, but there's also a pattern here. The Lord's displeased with your father. So it's what happens. If that was the father's pattern of behavior, then a lot of times the children take on that pattern of behavior as well. If they see mom and daddy smoke, then they're going to smoke. And it's just, they hear mom and daddy say certain words, then they're going to say certain words. And here we see a conviction is sent out to the people in that there's a problem, but there's also a pattern, but there's also a point to all this, that there's got to be remembrance before renewal. Said this a million times, I'll say it again. You'll never get saved till you figure out you're lost. You'll never have revival till you figure out that you're in a bad place. There's plenty of people out there that are just cruising through, and they think everything's all right, and they think that everything's okay, and they're just skating through life, and everything's unicorn and rainbows, and everything's all right, and everything's okay. And I promise you this, we'll never find revival in this walk of life till we understand that we need revival. We'll not find it till we realize that we got to have it and that we need it. And there's a reason for, the condition that we find ourselves in. There's conviction right here. And Zechariah is saying, hey, the Lord's been displeased with your fathers. This has not been the right attitude. This has not been the right behavior. This is not the right things that they're supposed to be doing. And because of that, the people here that we find, all the way into the second year of Darius, they're following those same patterns and they're following after those same things. And here, Zechariah is trying to get them to understand, hey, this isn't all right and this isn't okay. I promise you this, just because Washington, D.C. says that it's okay, don't mean that it's okay. Just because there are politicians that hold certain beliefs don't mean that belief is right. And just because we see something on television and we think somebody's smarter than us, don't mean that it's okay, and it doesn't mean that it's all right. And here we see the confrontation, we see the conviction, but verse number 3, I want you to notice this, there's a call. Therefore say you unto them. God's speaking to Zechariah here. I don't know why I want to call him Jeremiah. Therefore say unto them, Zechariah, I'm sending you for this purpose. You're going to go tell them that the Lord has been sore displeased with your father. And this is what I want you to say. Turn ye unto me, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will turn unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. There's a call right here. As we study through all these minor prophets for that space and time, whatever it was, we talked about this, that in every single one of them, there were certain aspects in every single prophecy, every single prophet. Every single one of those writings, and one of those key, fundamental, foundational things was there was always a call to repentance. In every single one of them. There's always a call for them to return, and there's always a call for them to come back. And I've heard people say this, well, I would start going to church and I would start trying to do those things, but you just don't understand what I've done. And you may be right, but God does. And guess what He does? He calls them to come back. Regardless what it is, in spite of how far somebody has gone. Now, I've never killed anybody, not yet, but I've not. Now, there might have been times I thought about it. There might have been times that I might have had some really bad thoughts, but I've never went as far as to actually take another person's life, and I hope that never happens to me. You never know what goes on in our crazy brain sometimes, but you know what? That person that has taken somebody else's life, there's still forgiveness at the cross. I've never went that far. I don't understand what that feels like. I don't know, what that feels like. I don't understand that. But you know what? Most of us, we have some things back there in our past we're not very proud of. We have things back there we wouldn't want anybody else to know about. We have things that, that we wish we hadn't have done. We have things that are stored back there that we would not want to get out, anybody else to find out about and get it, known. And we would like to keep it that way. And we like to hold those things in. But here's what we got to understand, that regardless of what that is, there's a call to come back to Him. And here in verse number 3, therefore say unto them, here's the message that Zechariah is to dispatch. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, turn ye unto me. There's a command for them to turn. There's a covenant that's made here. Turn ye unto me, saith the Lord of hosts, and what? And I will turn unto you. Whatever it is that is holding us back from revival, personally, whatever it is in our personal life. And I promise you this, the church can't have revival till people start having revival. It's a personal thing. It starts with individuals first. And we can't have revival as a church until people have revival. And we find this, our nation can't have revival until churches start having revivals. And once that starts, that personal level and this call, but we see here that there's something very special in this. There's a covenant that's made. God says, you turn unto me, what will He do? Then I will turn unto you. For us to blame God for not having revival is foolish. It's not His fault. Ball's not in His court. You say, well, whose court's it in? It's in our court. If we want God to move, then guess what? We have to make the first move. We have to be the one that is the aggressor. We have to be the one that's going after this. Now, tomorrow, me and Vicki will be married 30 some years, right? 34, right? Math is hard sometimes. That would not be true today if she hadn't pursued me like a wild person. I'm not lying yet. I didn't ask her out, she asked me out. Right? Is that not true? Okay. That didn't sound very convincing, but it's true. You see, she was afraid that one of her friends was going to ask me out, not her out. So that made her move a little bit. Now just think, if she hadn't done that, she'd have missed out on all of this, right? But she was making the first move. And I was waiting for it. And here's what we find today, that God's just waiting on us to make the first move. He's got this big old stockpile of blessings that He wants to pour out on us, and we just got to make the first move. He's got all of this. And we see here, there's a covenant that's made here in verse number 3. Notice what he says here. He says, you tell them this, turn ye unto me, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will turn unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. We see a command, we see a covenant, but we see compassion. All that stuff that they'd done wrong, they'd built temples to idol gods and made sacrifices to them. They'd turned their back on the true and living God. They'd walked in ways of iniquity. And, as we study through all these minor prophets, one of the other things that was always laid out was there was always a list of charges. Here's all the things that you've done. Here's all the things. Here's the grievances, and here's the accusations, and here's all the stuff where you failed. Here's all the stuff where you went wrong. And that's located in all these prophecies. And we see here that God says this, I will take that great big list, and I'll mark it paid in full. Now, we've done some odd things, I would say, since I've been out of work. We've done some things that are, I don't know, it's a little bit odd. We went and bought our grave plots. That was a little bit odd. Here's this little piece of land, and we paid as much for it as we almost paid for an acre of land. But here's this little spot. Felt odd to do that. We went, we bought us a headstone. Now, of course, I did it the way I do it. We went somewhere and we went to the clearance rack and we found one on the clearance rack. We found one that I liked, and I told the guy, well, I like this one. He said, well, there's a slight imperfection in it. Let me show it to you. And if you'll take that one, I'll give it to you for this price. Sold. And guess what he done? Give me a piece of paper, and he stamped on it, paid in full. Here's what we have to understand. All of those things that we've done wrong, when Jesus died on that cross, he stamped it, paid in full. Think of the compassion. Turn unto me, I'll turn unto you. All these things that you've done wrong. And it's not asking, for a big monetary donation. It's not asking for this huge sacrifice. Here's the word that Zechariah sent to give to the children of Israel. He tells them here's what you got to do. You just turn unto me and I'll turn unto you. We see a confrontation, we see a conviction, we see a call, but notice in verse number 4 and verse number 5, we see some caution. Be ye not as your fathers, unto whom the former prophets have cried, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, turn ye now from your evil ways and from your evil doings. But they did not hear, nor hearken unto me, saith the Lord. Your fathers, where are they? And the prophets, do they live forever? There's a caution here. We see there's a stubborn past. There's some short-lived people. There's a standing principle. Here we see some caution. Don't be as your fathers, because here's what happened. The prophets cried unto them, and they didn't listen. The prophets tried to warn them, and they continued on in their evil ways. The prophets begged them to come back, and they continued on with what they felt was right and felt like they were doing what it is that made their life happy and pleasing unto them. Don't be as your fathers. The former prophets have said, Thus saith the Lord, turn ye now from your evil ways. As we see here in verse number 3, God says, turn unto me and I'll turn unto you. Don't be like your fathers. When this was said, this is what they did. They did not hear. In the last part of verse number 4, they did not hear nor hearken unto me. They didn't pay attention. Something was being said, and they just didn't pay attention. Now, again, talking about, Brother Jimmy's Sunday school lesson, and put a picture in your mind. There's all these fellas sitting around, and, I can't, in my mind, I can't fathom what ancient Greece looked like. So I just picture people at the old country store sitting out on pop crates. That's how I look at it. That's how I put my visualization in my head. And they're sitting around, and they're talking about all this stuff. And the center of really what they talked about was usually centered around ethics. What drives behavior, and what's all right and what's not all right. They had many debates on ethics. And then here comes Paul. And Paul tells them something unlike anything they've ever heard before. And like Brother Jimmy said, he kind of fluffs it. Hey, you're smart, intelligent guys, right? You're people that sit around and debate and talk about all these things, and you certainly have this intellectual. You're smart enough to hear what it is that I'm about to tell you. And he tries to explain to them, this living God, this unknown God who you worship in ignorance can't be contained, in this little temple that you've built. Now we come here today, and this is the house of God. But guess what? When we leave, we don't have to leave him here. We get to take him with us. And he's with us at home, and he's with us on the road, and he's with us at Walmart, and he's with us at work, and he's with us at the grocery store, and he's with us at the family picnic. Wherever it is, he's not contained into this little place. And Paul comes in and he tries to teach them all of that. At the end of that story, there's some interesting things. Some of them mocked. Some of them said, we're not listening to that nonsense. Let me tell you what's going to happen as you go through this walk of life. You're going to run across people that mock you for what you believe. They're going to say, I don't listen to that. I don't hear that. That's a bunch of hooey. I'm not interested in hearing anything that you have to say. Some of them mocked. Some of them said, hey, you know what? We'd like to hear you again about this. There's some that are intrigued, and they kind of like the way it sounded. Is contrary to anything that they've been taught, as Epicureans and Stoics. Like I said, they believed there were gods, but they didn't believe that they had any influence in human affairs, any way whatsoever. And they certainly didn't believe in the resurrection from the dead. Hey, we'd like to hear a little bit more about this. You're going to find those in this walk of life that are going to mock you and not want to listen to it at all. You're going to find those that have, a little bit of curiousness about it. They may come back, they may not. But then at the end of that, there are those that follow. And guess what? Luke names some of them by name in that chapter, right? There are some that follow. We see here, there's a call. Don't be like your fathers. Don't be in this manner that you don't listen to what it is that they have to say. Don't be like them. He told them, turn ye now from your evil ways and from your evil doings. You say, why that's important? Some of them's going to mock. Some of them you talk to, some of them's going to mock. Some of them's going to have a faint amount of interest, and some of them's going to really follow. We see here that in verse number 4 and verse number 5, there's a caution. Make sure you listen and pay attention to what's being said. Turn ye now from your evil ways. There's a stubborn past that's here. There's some short-lived folks that are here. Your fathers, where are they? Israel and Judah, the Jewish empires is split at this time. There's two kingdoms. They're split in the kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah. Israel is swallowed up by the Assyrians. Judah swallowed up by the Chaldeans, or those from Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar and all of those. Both sides are swallowed up and find themselves in captivity. Here's what Zechariah is telling the people. Your fathers that didn't listen and did it their way and wanted to follow them, what good did it really do them? Where are they at now? Some of them are probably still in this captivity. Generations have passed, but I don't know. But Zechariah here, through the pen that God gave him, asked them this question: where are your fathers at now? What about the prophets? Do they live forever? Now, it'd be nice to hear Zechariah speak, right? Now, I don't know that we would understand what he was saying. But it'd be nice if he came and spoke in perfect English. Man, wouldn't it be nice to be able to sit and listen to the Apostle Paul teach? Man, that would be so nice, wouldn't it? To be able to hear that. And we certainly know, wouldn't it be wonderful to listen to Jesus tell the parable of the sower? Man, that would be so awesome, wouldn't it? If we could sit here and if Jesus came and was to give us the parable of the sower, we'd have to do things differently. He'd sit down and we'd all have to stand up. That's how he would deliver it. Man, that'd be nice to have all that, wouldn't it? Well, guess what? We do. We do have it. It's encased. God gave it to us and said, here you go. Because here's what we found. The prophets don't live forever. And I promise you this, you're sitting here today and some of the people that have been the most influential in your life, maybe even the person that led you to the Lord, maybe somebody that was a really strong influence, maybe somebody that you learned a lot from their teaching, maybe somebody you learned a lot from their preaching. There are people here today and you're here today, and some of the most influential people in your life, in your spiritual journey, are no longer here. Why? They don't live forever. And we're not going to live forever. The older I get, the more in touch I get with my own mortality. I've got so in touch with my own mortality, I have a funeral plot, a grave plot, and a headstone. That's how in touch I've got with my mortality. Now, those things aren't for my benefit. It's for, Allison and Autumn's benefit so that they don't have to deal with it later. But I've got very in touch with my own mortality, realizing this. I'm not going to be here forever. There's a caution that's here. Don't be like your fathers, because where are they at now? They drove you into captivity. Where are the prophets at? They don't live forever. But lastly, I want you to notice this. There's a confirmation in verse number 6. He says, but my words and my statutes. Where are your fathers? They're gone. Where are the prophets? They don't live forever. But my words and my statutes, which I commanded to my servants the prophets, did they not take hold of your fathers? Your fathers are gone. The prophets are gone. My words and my statutes are still here. And what did they do? They took a hold of your fathers. Now, what exactly does that mean? He says, and they returned and said, they didn't return to God, but this is what they said about the word that was delivered unto them. Like as the Lord of hosts thought to do unto us according to our ways and according to our doings, so hath he dealt with us. They heard what the prophets said. They rejected what the prophets said. And they later had to acknowledge what the prophets said. Hey, whatever it was that God said that he was going to do to us for our doings, he's done that, and he's fulfilled that. And here's what we have to understand today, that this word, while we may not understand it, and while we may not always believe it, and while there are those that are going to reject it, is not going to stop it from fulfilling itself. Nothing is going to stop Jesus from coming back. If not a single person in this room today believed that, it still wouldn't stop him from coming back. If nobody in this whole entire world today believed that, it still would not stop him from coming back. And here's what Zechariah is saying, talking about a confirmation here. He says, my words and the prophets didn't make it. Your fathers didn't live. But here's what did. My words and my statutes, those things that I commanded to them, they took a hold. And here's what they had to do. They had to acknowledge that these things were right. And they had to acknowledge these things are true. And here's what we know. When it's all said and done, every knee's going to bow. Every tongue is going to confess. And no amount of rejection on this side is going to stop that from happening. No matter who it is, no matter how famous they are. Nothing is going to stop that. There's a confirmation here. Your fathers and the prophets, they didn't last forever. But my word will. And it took a hold of them. They had to acknowledge that it was true. They rejected it at the beginning, but they had to acknowledge that it was true. It was inescapable. It was invincible. It was instructive. It was all of these things. As I read through these verses, I couldn't help but think of the story in John chapter 13. Jesus comes and he washes the disciples' feet, right? He comes around to Peter, and Peter says, "You're not going to wash my feet." And Jesus says, "All right, but if I don't wash your feet, you have no part with me." Peter changed his mind, right? He's like, "Okay, well, you can wash my feet then." But then he asked for another request. He said, "But also wash my head and wash my hands." Jesus explains to him that, that at this particular moment, the feet was what was required. But I couldn't help but think of, the heads and hands as I read through this. And I want to make one point to you and I'm done. If we want to have clean hands, it starts with a clean heart. You won't have clean hands unless you have a clean heart. You won't have a clean head unless you have clean habits. Now, on the back of our recliner, we had to put a throw on it. Because here's what happens. I'll be working outside. Eventually I'll return to that. And I'll come in and I'll be dirty. And I was afraid that, I'd lean my head back on that recliner and there'd be a stain that was there. Now, I was going to look. I don't know if there's a stain. Bailey, did you count Earl today as a visitor? Earl? I like old Earl, but I really hope not to have him much longer. But unfortunately, I still need him. I thought there was a spot on him. But it might be a little bit. No, if it's slobber, I'm doing it wrong. My pillow on the bed, it might be that way. But my pillow on my bed's that way. What happens when your head's dirty? Now, most of us, men anyway, we wear hats from time to time. Every one of mine has a little band in it, and they're all filthy and they're all nasty. I've got a solid white hat, and I have to spray that thing down with Totally Awesome about every other week and spray it down real good and wash it. Why? Because what happens is my head's dirty and my hat gets dirty. Well, my head's dirty because I don't take a shower and wash my hair every 15 minutes. Now I could, and it would prevent all that from happening. You say, what's that got to do in a spiritual aspect? Well, in a spiritual aspect, you better have some really good habits if you want a clean head. If you want clean hands, you better have a clean heart. If you want a clean head, you better have some clean habits. And I believe here that Zechariah can point us in that direction. We see here there's a confrontation, there's a conviction, there's a call, there's a caution, there's a confirmation. And I believe here, this opening chapter of this book says to return and renew. It is a call for revival.